Hello and welcome back. At this point, we're ready to provision the virtual networking components that will host our Windows Virtual Desktop implementation. Let me go ahead and minimize the VM here. This is the management server we were configuring earlier. And let's go back home. And before we get started, I want to touch on something here. Now, in this lesson here, we're going to create a virtual network called VNet WVD. And we're going to give it a separate address space from that of the AADDS VNet. Now, what we could do is simply create a separate subnet on the AADDS VNet, like we did for the management server, and maybe call it, subnet WVD. And we could install our Windows Virtual Desktop deployment on that network. But what I wanted to do is include just a little bit extra here. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to show you how to peer virtual networks. It's just an extra step within the lab, but it does teach you another skill that you may or may not know. So what I wanted to do is deploy a separate virtual network just for the Windows Virtual Desktop deployment, and then configure that in a peering with the Active Directory network. So what we'll do is go back home and we will create a resource and we'll search for virtual networks. We'll select it from the search box and create. And then what we'll do is we'll deploy this new virtual network into the WVD lab resource group. And then we'll call this VNet WVD. And we'll deploy this into East US. Now we could review and create here, and Azure would automatically choose the IP address spaces we want, but we want to do this ourselves. So we'll click next for IP addresses, and then we can see, just to confirm, that Azure is giving us what we want. It's kind of doing it here. What Azure is doing is giving us a 10.0.0.0/16 address space for the network, which is what I want. However, the default subnet is getting an address range of 10.0.0/24. What I want to do here is change this to 10.0.10/24. Now, we could use 10.0.0/24 if we wanted to. I just wanted to change this up a bit so I could show you how you would edit a subnet here at this stage of the process. So we'll save this. And then if we click through to network security, we'll leave the security options all disabled. We're not going to do Bastion host. We don't need anything more than the basic DDoS protection that's already included in the subscription. And we're not doing anything with firewall here. We can click next through the tags, and then we'll review and create. We can see our validation passes. So we'll go ahead and create the virtual network. And we can see that our new VNet has been deployed. We can see the subnets defined include the default subnet that we set up, and we can see we currently have no connected devices. So now that we've deployed the virtual network that is going to host our actual Windows Virtual Desktop implementation, what we'll do is call it a wrap here, and I'll see you over in the next lesson where we will configure a peering between this network and the Azure Active Directory Domain Services network. Because remember, the VMs that are going to be part of the Windows Virtual Desktop deployment, they need to be able to talk to the Active Directory domain. And to do that, you need to ensure there's communication between this virtual network and the virtual network hosting the domain controllers. So let's call it a wrap, and I'll see you over there.